Is Marty Mongello, and thank you again for joining us here on the Presents Network. And we are super happy to have everybody for the Lady Africa show. We are going to be getting right into it here and introducing our superstar, none other than Hazel Harrington. Thank you again for joining us here from the United States Presidential Service Center on the Presents Network for the Lady Africa Power Show. And thank you again. Welcome to Hazel Harrington. We're going to be starting in just 1 second. Well, Hazel Harrington, over to you. So glad to see you from Australia. Hazel Harrington.
Thank you, Martin, for that fantastic introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to Lady African Power. I am the founder of Lady African Power, and we're so excited to have you join us this fantastic morning here from the sunny Gold Coast and wherever you are around the world. So I just want to explain why we started Lady African Power. What is our why? What is our vision and mission and statement? And why we are having this Global Leadership Conference today. Lady African Power was birthed after we realized that Africa is lagging behind in achieving gender equality. In fact, it's going to take Africa about 140 years to achieve gender equality. Now, as leaders, we're not going to sit back and make that happen. We are here to empower the ordinary woman who's lagging behind in society, and we are here to equip and empower those women not only to become the leaders that they were born to be, but to become economically independent and wholly sufficient. So today we have an amazing lineup of speakers who are going to help us to fulfill that vision. And our vision and our mission at Lady African Power, together with the United States Presidential Service Center, is to ensure that we are supporting governments as well as stakeholders in the 54 countries in Africa to help them achieve their goals in achieving gender equality. So Lady African Power cannot do this alone. We need the help, once again, of CEOs, governments, community leaders in achieving our vision and the global vision that the United Nations has in one of their SDG goals in achieving gender equality by 2030. So we're so excited. And if you are here, if you are in government and you need our support, you can email us at info@harringtonpublications.com. Okay, so today, our Global Leadership Conference, our theme is equipping and empowering women leadership in Africa. And we have our very first speaker, an amazing woman. Her name is Dr. Remy Duyile. She is the president and CEO of Image Consulting Group, and she's also the former vice president of the Bank of America. I met Dr. Remy on one of the platforms. We were talking about this very issue about empowering women. And, we just like sisters. I love her. She's a mentor and a friend to me. Dr. Remy, welcome to Lady African Power.
Thank you so very much for creating such a brilliant platform in answer to one of our problems around the globe, especially in Africa, saying how can women be empowered to take their rightful positions. Thank you for all you do, Hazel. I mean, I've watched and followed all that you do and your team. You're amazing. Your intentionality should and ought to be celebrated. I'm honored to be on your platform this evening, this day, wherever we are around the globe, discussing a topic that each and every one of us find very, very needful. 140 years is a lot of time, guys. And we are not going to just sit and wait and fold our hands to get some answers to what needs to happen. Advancing women leadership in Africa is very apt right now. And guess what? It starts with women. This assignment, this goal that we're talking about starts with us. It starts with us because as women, we have to believe in ourselves. And I know you're going, Dr. Remy, what are you talking about? We have all these programs going around everywhere. Why are you saying that? It starts with me when I don't have this and that and that. I get it. I get it. It starts with us believing in our abilities, believing in where we are now, and celebrating what we have now, using what we have now to pivot to where we need to get to. Hazel said that we met through another similar conference. This is what happens when you go around to interrelate, to share platforms. You begin to build yourself. You begin to build your confidence. All of this sum total puts the belief in you. So, but like one of my mentors would say, do it afraid. You start with knowing what is your why. Why are we here? We know we're not here about staying around for 140 years that we've just been told to happen just like that. We're here to see how can we accelerate this. And it starts with believing in ourselves, to our government, to our leaders and nonprofit who are going to be listening now or later, ensuring that education is open and available with the highest quality to women and girls. These are the tools that would help us as women believe in ourselves. Also, as women, knowing that we are not in competition with our men, totally not in competition with our men. I am a girl, a daddy's girl. My dad, beloved, taught me to rut and instilled in me the confidence that I have today. So I always love my men, and I've been married for so many years, 30 something years, still counting. But my dad showed me the true love. So there's no competition between us women and men. So as ladies, as we begin to stay in our position of authority and power, we have to remember that we're not in competition with our men. As a matter of fact, we need to embrace our men to support us, for us to also support them. We need to respect our men and understand where they're coming from. They likewise need to do the same for us, because most of these men are great dads, right? They are great leaders. And I know they give their best to their daughters. I know my husband loves my daughter to bits. And I know all of you who have dads and uncles can relate to the fact that we girls lean more towards our husbands and our men. So the man in my life that showed me what true freedom is was my father at a very young age, who made me to believe that I can do all things if I decide and purpose to work hard. So as women, we want to believe in ourselves, but it starts with work, W-O-R-K, not just the looks, not just who you know. What do we know? What content do we have? The content of our character, the content of our intellect. How do we get those things? It comes as a sum total of our life experience. I just shared mine from being a young person with my dad, coming to the United States and just coming with that structure, that solid foundation of possibility mindset. And some of us might not have that experience, but guess what? That does not stop you. I always have a cliche. I said, marriage is not a death sentence for your career advancement, nor is it a passing ticket for your growth. Some of us have so many excuses, and I use that a lot because I deal with so many women who have gotten to the pinnacle of their career. And they believe that they can have it all. And I truly believe that we can have it all. But as women, as African women especially, we call to our men to embrace the genius in us. After all, we came from your ribs. We are one and the same. So being able to heighten our awareness, our knowledge, so that we're comfortable and confident in facing issues that are needful for the solution to globalization is very, very important. Our experiential learning also is very critical. As much as the classroom experiences are highly essential, your experiential out of classroom experiences that matter. Your exposure will really determine how you expand your horizon. We're talking together now from various continents. We never knew that technology will bring us so close like this quickly, but it has. And what I tell people is taking us to that next level. So as women, as African women, we need to be able to reinforce the lead in the progress that technology is making. Our young leaders all over the continent, they are being trailblazers in technology support. How are we as women supporting them? How are we as women stop looking at what can be done for us? What can we do for our country? That's what John F. Kennedy said. Ask not, what can your country do for you? I'm paraphrasing, but what can you do for your country? When we women come together and we begin to see ourselves as solutions and not as finger pointers, we are going to get somewhere. The 4, 5, 6 of us that are coming together tonight, if we can dare to continue this dialogue, we are going to have some successes. We also call to our governmental status, our nonprofit, our places of worship. There's so many programs out there, sisters and brothers, that if we begin to talk about, oh, this program, that program, what has the programs done? If you ask me, it's good to have the programs, but what we are lacking, and I stand corrected, is that we are not reinforcing this so-called programs. People are doing programs to check off the boxes. We women need to stand together and understand that checking of the boxes will not be tolerated. We are going to also be held accountable. Whoever is in leadership position will be held accountable to reinforce all of these great programs that have been done with good intention. But you all know that with good intention comes also execution. How are we going to be able to execute these things? Gender equality is not a race. Gender equality does not mean that the women all of a sudden will become a man. No, none of that can ever happen. And we need ourselves to cohabit, to ensure that we see ourselves as collaborators, as cooperators, not as competitors, because we're not. And until we begin to see that we are all one and we have the support, whether be it of our spouse, of our brothers, or a co-worker, and so on and so forth, then we will begin to see the change. That 140 can be cut into less than a half. I tell you that, Hazel. If we are intentional about what needs to happen, if we are intentional about picking strategic alliances where we know it's not just a talk shop, it's an execution shop. Talk can start a conversation. We're talking now, but when we have the next steps of what needs to be done, we've got to do it. So gender equality should not be a battlefront. Men should understand that this is needful, because when you have women at the table, at the helm of affairs in policy making, our mindset is wired differently. We have different orientation. There might be some things, when I was in corporate America as a vice president, there are things that other leaders who maybe are not female, who are not foreign like me, black, foreign accent, who maybe are not thinking the way I'm thinking, but because I made it to the table, I earned my right to be at the table, I was able to bring those things, and those things help the corporation. Same thing till today. When we are given an intentional access to the table, whereby somebody is now saying, I'm going to mentor you to greatness, not through any compromises, we know that, not through compromising anything, but taking us for the content of our character, for the intellect that we bring, we are going to speedily cut those 140 years into such a short time. And I see some changes are happening because our younger emerging leaders, they are taking the bull by the horn. They are coming boldly to say, you know what? We've got to make a change. And it starts with me. It starts with you. That's why we're here today. When we are all in our rightful places, men, women, that's when we're truly going to enjoy the beauty of this whole world. As women, our work is cut out for us. And it's not as hard as it sounds. If we just embrace ourselves, as I close and recap, embrace who we are, believe in ourselves, always knowing that we need to learn more, earn more, and return as we learn and return and do more. And also we need to understand that we are not in a race with our men. As a matter of fact, we are together. We need to respect, validate. They also need to do the same thing. But do to others what you want to be done to you. When things that need to be done to you correctly are not being done right away, show the maturity and speak up. Let your voices be heard, and let's speak with love, with care, with respect, and get it into the heads of those who needs to get it. And I say our government has a lot of work to do. Yes, the programs are there. Let's focus some more on just reinforcing and holding people accountable for the expectations that might be as a result of these programs. I know my time is up, so I'm going to stop at this point and just wait for later questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Remy. What an amazing, I mean, you've just spoken on so many topics, and I'm blown away by some of the things that you shared. And one of the most important things that you shared for me was we're not in competition with men. And that's the reality, is that Lady African Power is not an organization that wants to compete with men. And that's why we have two men speaking on this platform. We have Martin Mongiello from the U.S. Presidential Service Center and Shay Keita. So what's your advice for the ordinary woman when it comes to achieving a leadership position? Maybe they're afraid and they need some advice.
My advice, and you know my background a little bit, Hazel. I rose from teller to vice president with an MBA in America here, in a place where I didn't know anybody. Fear should not be in your vocabulary. I know it's easier said than done. You should not be afraid at all. What needs to happen is you constantly investing in yourself. Don't wait till you get that leadership position. Find yourself engaging in helping a cause that is greater than you. See yourself as a builder, as a bridge. So you're constantly going to be looking for things to add value. So by the time that call to serve comes, you already have your network. As you are serving, you are creating network that you can use now or later, or that your children could use. So see that as just your relationship currency is being garnered together. So never feel like, oh, I can't be in this position. How are you developing yourself? What do you need to learn that will help you to do that? And be ready to not pretend that you know everything. Asking questions and not knowing is not a sign of weakness at all. It's a strength, because you can't know everything, and you shouldn't try to fake it that you know everything, because you won't. Nobody knows everything. But you being able to understand that, yes, I know some things. If I don't know, raise your hand and ask the question, and respectfully get your answers and keep moving. We are all work in progress, and no one should be afraid to take that next level step. And I encourage our men to be intentional about mentorship without any compromise, so that you also can have a bragging right to say that I have seen somebody go, just like your own child. If you have a daughter, you want them to be the best they can be. Think of it that way. No fear should be in our vocabulary, if you ask me. With God on our side, not trying to be spiritual, there's nothing that can stop us from really achieving, if we're willing to work hard at it with humility.
Awesome. Fantastic. Thank you, Dr. Remy. We have a few questions for you, but if you'd just like to stay, and we'll get those questions answered at the end of the show. Okay. Thank you for that phenomenal presentation. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to move on. And I'd just like to say hello to Dr. Pauline, who's watching us live. And she says, love your passion, Dr. Remy. And Rajiv Handa says, powerful change makers. And he says, being an ally and being co-creators of success together with men and being accountable is important. Wow, we've got a lot of feedback coming through, but we're going to move forward. Martin, are we going to go to a commercial break, or we go on to the next speaker?
We can actually go to the next speaker if you would like. There are a lot of questions and a lot of studio participation. But I don't think really at this point there's too many questions from around the world that need to be answered. I did notice and wanted to welcome Ambassador Shay Keita is on with us, and God bless him. He's in Paris tonight, flew in for the huge African conference being hosted by Emmanuel Macron. And Shay, are you there with us? And how are you doing at 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning in Paris?
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much. I'm very glad to be here. But please take the another person. But I have some problem with my computer. I have to try to have my document in my computer. But I was walking inside the fly. Try to have my document. Please, I have to take uh, another place, please.
Oh, no problem. Hazel, back to you.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Okay,
thank you.
so thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for continuing to be with us. We're going to move on to the next speaker. And I just want to introduce our next speaker. Our next speaker is an amazing woman. Her name is Sanela Jurasaria. She is from Sri Lanka, and she is the founder of Women Empowered Global. Sanela, welcome to the Lady African Power Show, and the platform is yours.
Thank you so much. A warm welcome to everybody who is connected on this live stream from around the world. I'm so excited to be here. I want to first begin with two quotes that really moved me, and I want to share these two quotes with you. And it's by an iconic legend whom you all love, I'm sure, no doubt. It's one and only Maya Angelou. And the first quote reads like this: "A woman in harmony with her spirit is like a river flowing. She goes where she will without pretense and arrives at her destination prepared to be herself and only herself." I want you to think about that. And the next one is, "If you're always trying to be normal, you will never know how amazing you can be." And I'm going to be elaborating more on that. So hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm the founder and CEO of Women Empowered Global, and I'm also the president of the African Women Leadership Forum, which is a mentoring and online leadership building platform. And the slogan really resonates with this fabulous conference today, because even the slogan we sport at the African Women Leadership Forum reiterates the necessity and how pivotal it is to build our women today for a better economic promise across African countries for our tomorrow. Our slogan is empowering African women today to increase their leadership potential for a better tomorrow. And you may have seen the quote that I gave for the event, which is, "A nation with strong women represents a strong economy." So you talk about the strength of a nation, you can't discount the strength of the women that make it. So we know why it must be done. I also want to focus on the how. So through our initiative, through AWLF, there were two elements that I understood that really contributed to supporting that shift. The two elements that we focus on to equip her, to encourage her, to empower her is this. Number one, how can we build her capacity? Let's build capacity. Number two, how can we instill in her unshakable confidence? Unshakable confidence. We're looking at capacity, we're looking at confidence. So to date, since 2018, we have provided leadership training and mentoring for hundreds of women across Africa. And some of the things that I want to highlight that we stress upon is from things how to run a business, how to gain new customers, cash flow management, importance of professionalism, the importance of self-discipline. You can't have success without self-discipline. People forget that. And I also mentor women about confidence, consistency, and another C starts with communication skills for business and personal growth. And all of these things I just told you, these are vital assets to build a solid foundation for a better income and better business. And today we have people connected on this live feed from around the world. So I also want to quickly take us through what are these key challenges for women in Africa. We want to talk about advancing them. And I'm going to talk about the solutioning, and you're going to hear more about that from the others as well. But let's also first understand the big picture stuff. Let's discuss it as well. Because like Hazel said, we want to speak to government, we want to speak to CEOs, we want to see how stakeholders can support this. We're coming together. Let's start with the battle for equality for African women. Limited workforce participation, high unemployment, economic exclusion with no access to or control to their economic and financial resources, lack of financial stability, limited participation in political and public life. We need the voices of women in politics. We need the voices of women in peacemaking decisions, in peace tables. Then gender imbalance in decision making. And not only in Africa, not only the 55 countries, women in leadership are underrepresented around the world. But we are seeing the shift. I love Dr. Remy as a beautiful scenario as she explained. She, you know, with an MBA, how she achieved that seat on the table. Even myself, a lot of the times in the rooms in my multinational career where I was the only woman in the room. But it is possible, it is doable, and I will share more about that. I also want to talk about the impact of COVID on women right now, because we want to look at about advancing women in Africa in leadership. We cannot avoid talking about the impact of COVID. Very quickly, UN Women had published an article that the economic impacts of COVID are hitting women harder. 74% of women in Africa are engaged in the informal economic sector, street vendors, domestic workers, professional women in the service, tourism, and hospitality sectors, also doing contributions in the farming sector, agriculture. So these are very huge, vital streams to the economy. And also these areas have typically been impacted by COVID. And also, I'd like to bring to this meet something close to my heart. I also want to quickly touch and go on the future leaders, because we want to talk about a sustainable game plan to advance women in Africa. What about the girl child? This would be incomplete as a conversation if we don't also consider how we can raise strong, confident girls today, African girls today, who are going to be the strong women in the nations tomorrow. How can we, as CEOs, as stakeholders, come together to be proactive? How can we create a pipeline, a generation of future female African leaders who can take Africa to the next growth journey? So how can we advance women in leadership in Africa? Again, I want to cite Dr. Remy. She said, it's not a talk show, it's an action show. Dr. Remy, I absolutely love that, because I believe in that 100%. It's an action show, absolutely. How could we build an equitable space that recognizes the value and the dignity of women, that respects her freedom to fulfill her potential? It's a human right. It's a basic human right. We need to address these narratives of what it truly means to advance women leadership in Africa. What does this mean? How can we make it an equitable and unbiased environment for her to feel safe, for her to feel ready to grow her potential? How can we help break down barriers and create more inclusive opportunities in our community, in our supply chain, in our distribution, and in our society at large? So again, the question is, how can we advance women leadership in Africa? I came across a beautiful quote by a powerful African lady. Her name is Dr. Julianne Adieri Omala. She is the CEO of Delight Uganda Limited. That's one of Africa's fastest growing women-owned businesses, right? And she says, we need to encourage women to believe in themselves and that it is possible for them to come out of poverty. What is that telling us? Where is it starting? It's starting here, and it starts here. It starts here, and it starts here. Like I said, build her capacity and build that unshakable confidence. World Bank had said boosting women's productivity, earnings, and market inclusion is an accelerated way for economic recovery. I'm just going to quickly cite this. To support economic recovery in every region, Business competitions and soft skill trainings could help women-owned businesses and firms bounce back. Business plan competitions. It has been a proven thing in addressing capital constraints and encouraging investments as great examples. Another thing, in Togo, they have initiated this thing called personal initiative training, which helps women entrepreneurs to focus on being proactive and demonstrate perseverance as attributes. And when they did this training called personal initiative training, it's a special type of training as opposed to traditional training for small business owners. In Africa and Togo, they did this. And they found, as a result of personal initiative training, which is focusing on helping women be proactive, helping them persevere, not give up, self-discipline, consistency, those are the things that I focus on. It helped women increase profits by 40%. That's a result right there. That's bottom line. So how can we advance women in leadership in Africa? How can we change narratives that are currently stifling her potential, her opportunities? So very quickly, number one, economic empowerment. I'm talking about entrepreneurship, SME support. I'm talking about giving land or home ownership. I love how Hazel touched that on one of my global events. Absolutely right. Give her that control of land and property. Career advancement, skill acquisition, access to global markets. There are women in my African Women Leadership Forum. They're like, Sanela, I have this particular product. I want to trade. I want to get this across. Help me with the network. How can we facilitate the trade? Scaling up successful jobs, career succession planning. How does that look like in an unbiased way for women in Africa? Favorable trade policies. Number two, education. What are we talking about? Access to technology. Technology is a growth sector. There are certain countries that are thriving in Africa with regard to technology. We have brilliant people who are all African people who are working in homegrown hackathons around technology, around artificial intelligence. The world is looking in, global leaders are looking in, and they're looking at the economic potential of the African human capital. So let's harness that, let's invest in that. Legal protection for the woman, decision-making power for the woman, leadership skill development, children and youth care. We can't talk about empowering women advancing in leadership without looking at enabling and also addressing childcare for her family and quality childcare. And finally, self-care. Self-care, I'm talking about empowering her with a positive mindset. And if I'm speaking to women right here connected from Africa, I'm telling you, self-care has helped me and so many of the other women around the world who have become successful, is believing in yourself. Self-care, positive mindset, stand up for your right, be assertive, know who you are, believe in yourself, like the Maya Angelou quote I told you, right? Know your potential, use your struggle, and see how you can use it as momentum for your growth. Access to healthcare, access to facilities, a sense of autonomy, let her feel that autonomy, aligned autonomy, self-determination, and self-confidence. So something that we focus on heavily on the African Women Leadership Forum is the networking piece, the self-confidence piece, and the self-care piece. Self-empowerment, self-impact. What can we do? How can I shift from talk show to being an action show? An action taker as an individual. And finally, I want to leave you with this beautiful quote by someone we all love, and that is Michelle Obama. And she says, the difference between a broken community and a thriving one is the presence of women who are valued. Wow. So let that resonate with you as it has resonated with me. And I wish all of you all the very best. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sanela. That was an inspiring presentation. The reality is that we cannot achieve gender equality with education alone. We also need to make sure that society also is involved in it. And I love how you mentioned that we need to shape attitudes. It's definitely one of the key dimensions when it comes to gender equality. Shaping attitudes, you said building capacity, self-discipline, consistency. Thank you so much. You're such an inspiration to me, and I admire what you're doing for women in Africa, and I look forward to working with you on projects where we can equip and empower women to become economically independent and wholly sufficient. So now we're going to go to a commercial break, and then we will go on to the next speaker. Sanela, don't go anywhere. We have got some questions for you at the end of the show.
Well, we are back again, and thank you so much for joining us, everybody. It's finally gotten dark in America here in the Eastern Seaboard. Back over to you, Hazel Harrington from Harrington Publications Worldwide, the Lady African Conference, Lady African Power, doing so well. Hazel, take it away. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Martin. And we'd like to thank our sponsors once again, Advent Jets, Leisure Management, the U.S. Presidential Service Center, Carolina's Commercial Residential Realty. Thank you so much. Okay, so now we're going to our next speaker, and we have an amazing speaker who's flown in, who's in Paris, and it's 2 a.m. in Paris right now, and he's up and excited to be on this platform to empower women. Like Dr. Remy said, we are not in the competition with men. Ambassador Shay Keita, welcome to Lady African Power. The platform is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm very glad to be here. Thank you, everybody. Hello, everybody. How to advance a woman in leadership in Africa. Women in Africa have been born leaders since the time of the colonization and the slavery. Remember, the heroine was named this woman who marked the history of Africa. Little representative in storybook, women have always occupied essential place in the power structure of their country and the struggle for the emancipation of their people. Pan-Africanist feminists or anti-colonialist, queen or heroine, they are numerous to challenge the cliché still work in the African woman or the woman in short. In this 17th century, Anne Zinga reigned over the kingdom of Angola and managed to avoid colonization of their country, and Angola Pan-African icon residents fighting imperialism and European colonizator. From Anne Zinga, who dominated in the history of Angola in the 17th century. He was famous in this country in Angola. Also, the Amazon of the Mosi, strong Nefertiti, the beautiful and the stringent wife of Akhenaton, of the Kahina queen and whore. I pay tribute to my friend Mrs. Sylvia Serben, who give us an extraordinary book, Queen of Africa. The title of this book, Queen of Africa, and the heroine of the Black diaspora. At the time when Matiashi was at it, as in Black African women had powers with Islam and Christianity the political role was taken away. Queen Poku of Ivory Coast, of the Queen of Wallo of Senegal, of Ravalona Tree of Madagascar, of Queen Kassa of Mali, La Cayena Queen of the Berber, of Rosila Mulatto in Galopi, in Amazon of Benin, Princess Burkina, the Hanega Empire was a story mingled with that of Toulouse. Taitu Betul warlord and liked in Ethiopia. Kimpa Vita, the revolutionary star of Congo. In Nigeria, everybody know Funi Laho Ranson Kuti, the mother of women rights. Morocco, we know Aisha Eshene, the mother of the courage. In Guinea, we have Badia Kamara and Lufo Kamara. Allow me to launch a cry from the heart and some line from this poem that I wrote and which are dedicated to all the women of Africa. African woman of body and heart, sun-like woman, working woman early in the day and naked, twilling, woman bulwark, woman shield, woman of happiness and misfortune, woman heroine, woman who give life, frankly life, woman who cultivate life and project hope, woman with a wide back carrying her baby and the hard work of the failed woman carried the future of the family and the weight of society on her head. Woman who build the future of the world by educating and building the future leader of the world. Woman best peacemaker and reference based woman on the family in Africa, girls, guard, whose and guide, whose forget rules and never give up because if you give up, the world collapse. There are several obstacles hindering the development of female leadership based on the lack of neutrality of organization value, the problem of reconciliation between private, professional life, or even socio-cultural prejudice, white play a very important role given that women are today sanctioned by the company even before it has to provide its competence. The environment in which the world and business operate has now become more demanding and complex. A leader must be able to guide, lead, and influence individuals in order to be able to implement his vision of improving the competitiveness of the organization. Leadership appears to be a necessity for modern business as it spans the entire hierarchy of the organization and thus provide a forward-looking vision constituting a benefit to the company. Indeed, managing change in an uncertain and complex environment require the mobilization of a multitude of people. In fact, there has been talk of the new gender approach, recently associated with theory of leadership and access to leadership position. It is based on the differentiation of leadership according to gender and therefore the existence of a certain distinction between male leader and female leader. This gender difference is the result this gender and therefore the existence of certain distinction between a male leader and female leader. The various studies that have focused on the relationship between leadership and gender have not clearly highlighted to what extent gender discrimination presents particular barriers for women and prevent them from accessing leadership role. But we all know this is the case. In society, gender attribute different position and power to men and women. This difference is often understood in a binary way by associating, for example, the active and productive pole with men and the passive and reproductive axis with women image of leadership, preventing it from reaching position of responsibility. The underestimation of women in company despite gender discrimination in the workplace and moral and sexual harassment are still present. For all these reasons, it is seem interesting to study the current situation of female leadership. We must recognize progress in the evolution of the statute of African women, but there is still a lot of more work to be done regarding equality of rights between the two genders because we are still attached to tradition and custom which slow down this development and which prevent women from occupying position of responsibility. Today, the rate of access of women to position of responsibility does not exceed 29%, while it is 70% for men. As for the employment rate of women, it is double that of men, despite the high success rate of women, girls in the baccalaureate, which is 63%, and in higher education at 77%. We must therefore reflect on the problem of differentiating between male and female leadership and underestimation of female skill. This is to identify the obstacle that slow the progression of women in organization. More speciality is about answering the question, what are the obstacles that women leaders face, identify and analyze the obstacle to the development of female leadership. Who were most often positioned of responsibility are held by men, which lead those to reflect on leadership practice according to gender. This gender approach was introduced in the early 1970 to distinguish it from the work sex, a word of Anglo-Saxon origin now under the term genders and which has been the subject of several work on social relation of sex as will a gender equality must be taken into account. Qualification is defined as whole process of shared social construction starting from education institution and politics. As stipulated Simone de Beauvoir. Simone de Beauvoir said, "We are not born a woman, we become it." The integration of this concept made it possible to go beyond the male-female dichotomy to tend toward the consideration of the male of female character in entrepreneurship, whether at this level of management success, of the development strategy, of the business and decision making. To change society and this outlook on women and their leadership, work must start in kindergarten because we have boys and girls in this first learning of life and instilled in them this value of respect and the consideration of the difference of sex is essential in society and family to have a role to play in their ability to ever personalize boys to the detriment of girls. We must fight that every girl enter school. If you give the girls the opportunity to going to school, is like adding a light to village life. Nowadays, we notice an increase in the participation of women in the working life. I think the leader of tomorrow should have a more feminine approach. Several studies show that there is no difference between female and male leadership. My experience of a boy who lost his father very early on and education and built by his mother, it's same relevant to me to dwell on his specificity which relate to the relational specificity of women. 10 work and problem solving, the relational dimension is considered a relevant variable to better understand the female parts. This is situated around the ability to establish and maintain link with other through understanding communication. Sharing and respect for other will beg demanding in the work. Women will more easily develop closely and collaborative relationship with their employer. We would promote teamwork, another specificity of female leadership. Nowadays, women could prove to be the best leader in business because the power of women is not to exert control over other, but rather to take charge and direct her of life. Teamwork is increasingly a necessity today. Society has detached itself from the patriarchal model, and therefore offers a more favorable ground for the evolution of female leadership, since it's based on the solicitation and sharing of ideas with least recourse to power in a relationship, specifically of female leadership, namely problem solving. Problem solving, managing difficult situations is another advantage for women managing. Women can be a force of proposal in crisis situation. Sure, we are currently experiencing. Indeed, women can more easily imagine the famous this way of an alternative when faced with a problem. Women like men will want to resolve the immediate effect of crisis in order to break the dialogue. But but they they also want to go back to the origin of the situation and resolve them in depth so that they will not be faced with the same situation in the future, which is of paramount importance in terms of managing difficulty. Can be then conclude that there is a female leadership style of writer there that women exerce their leadership differently from men. There is a female leadership style which differ from the male leadership style. I am sure no Wade and at the international level he proposed that all the dynamic admin at greater participation of women in the sphere of political and public decision make be, making be measured and encouraged to validate it at the benchmark of the democracy level of the society. We must be able to measure the profound socio-economic change which have had an impact on the status of women within the family and in society. This requires constant improvement of the legal system in favor of women. The increasingly growing access of the female population to act to all cycles of education and growing presence of women in the labor market. The evolving nature on the pandemic effect of women and girls have also mobilized for greater committee to protect, promote, and strengthen gender equality and the empowerment of women. The pandemic exacerbated power inequality and gender-based violence, while increasing vulnerability by empowering people access to job, food, and other resources, which particular effect on people, women, and girls. The essential role of women empowerment, we need to think about the inclusion of women leadership position. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much, Ambassador Keita. We appreciate it. And we know it's late at night for you. So I was very pleased to call you to make sure you were up, and you were bright, powerful, and strong, and very much so awake. Our next opportunity is actually for myself, I believe. We lost Hazel for a second, but she will be back, and I see her coming back in now. So hopefully I am not out of place, Hazel, but Jake has just finished, and I will hand it back over to Miss Hazel Harrington in Australia, in Queensland, Australia. Hazel, take it away.
Thank you so much, Martin. I just lost you there for a little while. Thank you so much, Sheikh. Indeed, we've had a lot of pockets of success and good news. They do exist. And I love how you said that we've got a lot of women who are, carrying babies on their backs, and they've got the weight of society, on their heads, and they're still empowering other women. Thank you so much for that. And I know that English is not your first language, but you were absolutely amazing. And thank you so much for coming to the Lady African Power Show and sharing your input with us. We appreciate you, and thank you so much. And thank you. We're going to move on to our next speaker, and our next speaker is definitely, I know it was going to be you, Martin, but I'm going to let Dr. Phumza go first, because I'd love for you just to finish the show, because I know this is also something that you're passionate about as our co-sponsors. Phumza, you are next. Welcome to the Lady African Show. Phumza is an amazing woman from South Africa. And I wanted to say, Phumza, congratulations to South Africa. They're doing an amazing job when it comes to promoting gender equality, acting on gender equality in Africa, together with Rwanda, especially with women in middle management roles. You're doing a fabulous job, Phumza, and the platform is yours. And please share a bit more about yourself before you start, and so that the people can know more about you.
Thank you very much, Hazel, and a good morning from South Africa. It is still 2 o'clock in the morning, and welcome to all your esteemed guests. It is such a pleasure and an honor to be part of this auspicious event. Hazel, there is a famous saying that says, Africa, your time is now. I would like to change it to say, African woman, your time is now. What a time to be born in. And we are our ancestors' hope, the collection of women around the table today, together with Sheikh and of course Martin, is really a representation of what our ancestors never hoped or dreamed of. So it is really warranted of us to rise to the occasion, to take the baton and to lead. We are who we've been waiting for all this time. When I look at the theme for today, Hazel, I am drawn to two major and quite urgent actions that need to happen. The urgency for progressing access of women to leadership. And I'm saying that because we have been women who have been ready. There has been a very healthy pipeline of women who have been ready to lead. Somehow we are always entrusted to be deputies, but not entrusted enough to take the leadership baton. We are here saying, and I think Dr. Remy referred to that we are the women who form the sisterhood, who will support women who are rising to the leadership positions. We will support them with capacity, with mentorship. We'll support them with strategies on how they can do that best. And I'll speak about that later. Secondly, there is a need for accelerating leadership of women because of the dire state that Africa is finding itself in. I'm saying that because of the remnants of COVID-19 in the continent and how it is warranting a time for restoration, for regrowth. And only a female leader can really drive that. They can be nurturers. They are unifiers. They are builders. They lead with a spirit of, restoration, supporting. And that is the type of leadership that is required for this time. Fortunately, Africa is rising to the occasion, and we can hear a resounding sound where Africa is supporting this. Tanzania selecting and electing a president that is a female proves that Africa is saying we're ready. Africa unitedly saying we will choose one deputy general for the World Trade Organization. And of course, appointing and putting forward Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, saying that we shall be led by a woman for a very important portfolio for Africa. Mother Africa says this is time for healing. Mother Africa says the continent has lived through enough scourge of civil wars. We have lived through greed. We have lived through now, latest, the pandemic. And Mother Africa says, I'm ready to heal and I'm choosing a woman to lead this era. Sadly, whilst we make all the strides that we're making, there's still a scourge that is really still a big issue in Africa, and that is a scourge of gender-based violence. We have experienced a remarkable increase in gender-based violence, especially through the period of COVID, which then emphasizes the message of saying we need to empower women so that they're in positions where they are not vulnerable, where they can make financial choices for themselves, where they can make decisions for their safety, where they're empowered to take their families forward with all access to the resources that they require. I need to celebrate a few things in South Africa. South Africa is, of course, spearheading the gender parity message. You will see in the representation of our ministries that there is almost a 50% allocation of the seats to male ministers as well as female ministers. And of course, the female ministers are rising to the occasion. My particular ministry of interest, which is telecommunications, is led by a female, a young female, very energetic and resolutely leading the change of the fourth industrial revolution. She's leading the change of digitization, and she has all the energy. What is important to understand is that when we are selected as women into positions of influence and positions of power, we need to rise to the occasion because we stand there representing multiple of other women who are following behind us. I would like to raise your attention, Hazel, to about 5 matters which I think are important for this era of female leadership. We need to use our voices more as women, and I will elaborate on why I'm saying that. We need to demand an equal voice in decision-making. We need to be accountable for the change that we are calling for. We need to choose to challenge and not just say it in events, but also choose to challenge everyday behaviors that we see are not progressing the narrative of gender parity. We also need to stay true to who we are. And I think that's the message that Dr. Remy alluded to. One thing we've realized as African women is the power of our voices. And we've realized how important it is for every woman to rise up and be an advocate for gender parity. There is enough time has been spent on being bystanders. We can no longer afford to have women as bystanders. Each woman, wherever they are, need to represent women. They need to stand and speak for women. In whatever sphere we find ourselves in, whether you are in music, speak representing women. The music industry is one of the most polluted industries when it comes to the representation of women. We need women who speak positively about women. We need women who can talk in platforms and progress the narrative of gender parity. What affects another woman needs to affect all of us. And we need to be the greatest supporters of other women. We need to be the lobbyists for other women to be in positions of power. And we need to be praying for them, Hazel, not just expose them to positions of power, but support them as a sisterhood through prayer, through serving loyally under them. Because you'll find that there's sometimes a resistance to us supporting Dr. Remy, who we've by any chance selected to a position of power. We need to be there as women, and those women who really offer the support and the sisterhood. By raising our voices, we're bringing into consciousness the change that we all want to see. We need more lawyers that are female who will stand in there and drive for legislations and policy that progress our narrative. We need educators who will help other women and capacitate other women to be best at what they do. We need businesswomen who will come with business models that will help support women and progress the financial prosperity of women. We need older women to rise up and to be mentors to the young leaders. I use a platform that is called She Unleashed, and Hazel, you would know because you have been invited as a guest in She Unleashed. That platform is there to really amplify the voices of women, to help support women, to give them toolkits that are both tactical but also strategic, that when you rise into your position of power, in your executive committees, in your board meetings, these are the toolkits that are available to support you. I also speak as a columnist and a voice in a platform called She Community, where we talk about issues affecting women. We talk about corporate bullying. We talk about all the things that happen that we don't have the narrative for yet, and simplify them and speak about them so that we give permission to other women to address and the vocabulary to talk about these things. I also am part of the research group for the UN SDG corporate guideline that is focused on SDG 5. You mentioned it, Hazel, when you started, because we need corporates supporting gender parity. We are tired of the narrative of women being appointed into position, but it's like a revolving door. They come in a year, they are out because the environment is not conducive for them staying and being impactful. Of course, we must recognize the men that are standing beside us, and you said that in volumes. We thank the Martins, we thank the Sheikhs that stand beside us and amplify the voice and the narrative of gender parity. We need to support these men, and rightfully, Dr. Remy indicated, we are not at war with men. We just desire equal opportunity and equal access to resources. We need to demand an equal voice in decision-making. In the emergence of new technologies where there's artificial intelligence that is coming on board, we need women there making decisions. We need women there being behind all of the algorithms that are being formed, because we don't need another platform where gender inequality is perpetuated. We need women in policy-making decisions. We need women in financing and making sure that we support women to have access to financing. And who will those women be supported and elected by? By women like you and me, who are sitting in the very same platforms. I gladly boast and say in South Africa, at least, the progress is taking place, where we have many platforms where women are coming and representing industries. We have women in mining, we have women in telecoms, and they're taking the rightful place, having meaningful conversations about ownership, meaningful conversation about access to resources, meaningful conversations about leadership. I mentioned accountability for change. Once we're selected into these positions of power, we need to have the accountability to lead. We need to have the courage to lead. We need to have a leadership that will be warranting handing over a better baton to our children. We stand here for our daughters. We are in a timeline where we're representing our daughters. And it is really incumbent upon us to act with discipline, with accountability, and really taking the progress forward. We need to choose to challenge. One of the favorite themes across all the world this year in International Women's celebrations was choose to challenge. It was a noble cause, but it's a cause that we need to follow through on every day. Whenever we see a woman in our platforms being ignored, being disempowered, we need to choose to challenge those narratives. We need to choose to challenge where women are ignored or dismissed in our presence, where women are being spoken over. We need to call those matters out and challenge those matters. Meghan Markle this year stood up and took on a very powerful organization where she stood and said, I refuse to be dismissed. We need to have more of those bolder decisions and bolder moves and stand for what is right. Lastly, Hazel, we need to stay true to who we are. It's amazing that throughout history, we've been told that we are not assertive enough. We are not good enough. We are not bold enough. Somehow, this era is telling us that we need you exactly for who you are. And it is incumbent for women to show up in their authentic nature. We will not be men. We refuse to be men. We need to show up in our leadership, in our own styles, as nurturers, as unifiers, as truly the feminine nature that we are, despite the world having told us all these years that we're not enough. We are absolutely perfect in our imperfections. Thank you very much, Hazel.
Wow, Pumza, what an inspiring presentation. You know, when you talked about our voices need to be heard, but we need to be accountable. That's so true, because sometimes we using our voices for just certain changes, and then we're not accountable for that. Thank you so much for that. And I agree that gender-based violence has increased due to COVID. And I know through the statistics when it comes to South Africa from rape, we'd love to see change in that area, gender-based violence. I mean, South Africa is doing a wonderful job, but yes, we want to see an improvement when it comes to women feeling safe, because we cannot have gender equality in education only, but we need it also in society. Oh, thank you so much, Pumza. And I want to mention that Pumza is also the top 100 Global Women Leader Award winner. She's amazing, and she's also the founder of PanFit. And with that, Pumza, please don't go away. We have some questions for everybody at the end of the show, and we're going to move ahead with our last speaker. And our last speaker is the CEO and founder of the U.S. Presidential Service Center, Martin Mangiello. Martin is also a sponsor for Lady African Power. He is passionate about empowering women in Africa. He's also a mentor to me and constantly empowering me and seeing how we can help women in Africa. Martin, welcome to the program. The platform is yours.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And Dr. Pauline Crawford Omps has been hanging in there with us for the entire show, as are several other people. So it's been nice to see how many continents we're hitting tonight. It's quite amazing. I wanted to put that quote up that you had been so nice to send out. And I had mentioned in that women across the earth and the human race have the power to settle the colonies on Mars and will soon do the moonwalk on the moon as part of the NASA Artemis project. And as we get ready to watch the first woman on the moon, we're surrounded within our minds by the power of women in business and combat, women in space travel and submarines, and women giving birth as the bearers of life on our planet. Leave that up for a second for folks to be able to see that. And then the other portion of my prepared remarks tonight are actually quite simple, Hazel, and you had also been so kind to publish these earlier. And they were just that women provide and carry forth life itself as the birth of the world, the breath of creation's first mouth opening and inhaling, the umbilical cord linking amazement of creator and humankind continuing to exist. A man can provide some small seeds in a packet or a pocket, but it is the cultivator of our race, the woman who tends to Earth's life force and creation. As professionals in the human race, women expect and demand equality of pay, continuous advancement towards power roles of authority and position, and recognition with awards. Women have unique and different needs in the workplace, from breastfeeding to milking and storing mother's milk in the refrigerator during the workday at the office. Pumping cannot stop, and other needs. It is a wonderful and honorable for men to clean the house, change diapers, teach children, do wash and cook food. And honestly, any warrior man who has military service in war already knows how to do all these things, and ironing. So ironing a lady's dress is easy to do. You could ask my wife for me. I was in the military for 30 years, from wars in jungles, at the demilitarized zone, to the deserts, just all over the world. It's important to remember and respect women have no desire to enter professional. Some women have no desire to enter professional life, earn a doctoral degree, and the religion forbids working. These women don't need to be belittled, made fun of, or looked down upon. So we do have different ladies across the world following different religious beliefs. And I always mention, Hazel, we need to respect them. The only thing the United States Presidential Service Center has ever said is, if and when we fly into your country and we are having meetings, you are not allowed under the United Nations standards to utilize religion for a reason why no women will be allowed at this meeting. And women are not allowed to speak, and talking over women and mansplaining and things like that. We don't put up with that. We don't tolerate that. We encourage women to be all they can be and to achieve equality. And we also have to remember that it is going to take some time. You can't go from 0 to 100 miles per hour in 8 seconds. We have led this world within shame. We need a intergalactic spanking for when the aliens show up here, to try and explain to them the way that we treat women and others within the human race, okay? And we should not be surprised at all if we get an intergalactic spanking and some alien says, pull your pants down right now, and has a board in their hand and is going to provide a spanking for the human race. They may not like what they see, the way we have treated other colors of skin and other peoples, and they may not be happy with how we treat women. So we should expect that. And that is our history, our legacy, our problem, our fault, okay? And we are doing everything that we can to correct it right now. And I believe people like Jake are just absolutely stunning, mesmerizing, gripping to listen to. And his power with his throat, when he comes through, is just stunning. And we do want to see it, but we also have to realize we can't get angry over the fact that it's not 50-50 right now. Women, however, we must be mindful of, represent 52% of the workforce amongst the human race. We're very close to 8 billion humans, and women represent 52% of all people working on Earth right now, okay? So for 30 years, the United States Presidential Service Center has actually been 50-50 with our board. And Hazel and I always laugh with my wife, Stormy, like, why is it so hard? It's not that difficult. Well, Charlie Scharf at Wells Fargo said it's very difficult to find Black women who are smart enough and to do these roles. And you really have to go through a lot of resumes. I was like, really? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Have you been to like Washington, D.C. or to Howard University, where, women far outnumber all baccalaureate degrees? There are so many women available who are super dead smart, intelligent. I don't know where you're looking, who you're interviewing, and where your resumes are coming from. But that statement got smashed all over Wells Fargo immediately and was very embarrassing, okay, to say something like that. And so we often sit here and laugh to ourselves and say, why is this so hard? For 30 years, we have had half women and half men on our board of directors, 50-50, going back to 1994 when we got started, and our trustees, 50-50. Why is this such a new thing? It's so exciting and exhilarating, and we're going to make it happen. It's actually old business and old dinosaurs that are holding people down, as Jake said. And they are absolutely hell-bent on keeping things the way they are and keeping others down. So we should expect the intergalactic spanking if the aliens land here and start asking a lot of questions and reviewing the histories of the human race. It's going to be pretty embarrassing. I don't want to be the one to come forward and have to explain our history. And thank you again so much, Hazel, for inviting me.
Thank you so much, Martin. That was fantastic. I do agree that we need to treat women better globally, and not just because we're asking people to do that, but because it's the right thing to do. And we definitely want to see more women in leadership roles on boards. I mean, statistics do show that when we have more women on boards, most of the organizations and economies do better. So thank you so much for that, Martin. I'd like to thank everybody that has featured today on our platform. You have all been amazing. And I've just got 3 questions that I'm going to, in fact, 2 questions that I'll just throw out to everyone, and anyone can answer the question. One of the questions that we have is that, why do you think that gender equality is stalling, going backwards in Africa? Anyone can answer.
My thoughts on that are the inability to reinforce what is placed. Nobody inspects what they expect. There's a lot of programs, there's a lot of talk about it, but what are we doing about execution? And I think that in the area of execution, it's a lot difficult for people to understand that the fact that you've created a program doesn't mean that people would understand and use it the way it's meant to be. And if you now don't turn around and hold people accountable, then people would just not see why they have to be responsible. So that's one thing that I see that is causing that. And because right now our girls need to be cared for in a very intentional way, we need to ensure that our young girls, that education is paramount. It should not be a choice. It should be a thing of compulsion that all young girls coming up need to be exposed so they can get educated, because that's the succession planning. And I believe that because of what is happening right now with COVID, with the world being flat and all of us are reconnecting from different continents, it will behoove any leader not to see the seriousness of educating all, not just any particular gender, but the women especially to carry it on. When you hand a woman a fish, she will be feeding the nation, the world. We are not consumers, we're builders, we're nurturers. So it's just so important to ensure that the education piece is on point and that we truly engage women and validate and support them.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for that, Dr. Remy. So if people want to get a hold of you, how can they get a hold of you, Dr. Remy?
Oh, yeah, you can reach me through LinkedIn. Like you said, LinkedIn is very easy to get hold of me. Or you can go on my website. That's www.remiduyile.com. You can also reach me that way.
Awesome.
Or LinkedIn, my first name and my last name.
Awesome.
Hello.
Yes.
I want to speak about the gender in Africa. So, we project very future for Africa. The gender problem in Africa have to be started to the school. We have to build the program, to make it in the program of the school, the gender program, and to bring to the people, female people and male, the problematic of the gender. And then all leaders in the country, female and men, have to be together to speak about this program in country. If you travel in Africa, we have the television in Africa. Sometimes the television speak about the politics and the economic. We must change mindset to bring in the TV, in the radio, the program of the gender solution
Yes.
to explain to the people to know what is the program for the equality in our country. That is very important. I think if we work together, fighting to small school, 3 years, 4 years for the babies, girls, and men in the small school, high school, university, and in television, in the radio, to speak about the equality, I think it's possible to advance it. The problem of the genders of the equality is not the decision of the government. It is the decision for the citizen of the country to making better the country and making better world.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sheikh. That's so true. That it's going to take not only the government, but
Hazel,
yes. Can you hear me? Yeah, I can hear you. Did you want to say something, Tumza?
sorry, I wanted to add to what Sheikh. Yes, absolutely. I wanted to add to what Sheikh was saying, to say it is still a very much patriarchal society that government will not be able to change, but the citizens need to make a decision against that. So I've been in corporate for more than 23 years. And the experience in corporate is, whilst we speak about gender parity, it is not evident in the everyday life. It's not evident in the the executive committees, in the board meetings. That gesture is not there. That behavior is not there. And what is changing for us now is women realizing that it is a bigger fight than Pumza being the only person around the table, but we need to rise up as the sisterhood that holds each other together and, start questioning these things and start addressing these things. So it will change. It has not taken as fast a time to progress, but I think women of late are much more strategic in how they are dealing with it. Thank you very much, Hazel.
Thank you so much, everybody, for coming and sharing this platform with us. I'm so excited with all your presentations that came through today. I'm just going to mention this to Martin. We haven't discussed this, but I'd love for us to do an event in South Africa because they are the champions when it comes to gender equality. Once we're free to travel, probably 2022 and 2023, and just have the same speakers as well as other speakers. So we'll be in touch definitely, and we'll collaborate with Pumza, who's in South Africa, about that. I'm looking forward to doing that. Martin, what do you think?
Absolutely. I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. Thank you so much, and get some sleep. Dr. Pauline Crawford from Las Vegas, thank you for all of your comments. Patty Frudenberg from New York, our folks from all 6 continents tonight. We are already racking up thousands and thousands of views on this. A lot of people are results oriented. They want to know the 6 continents. We will probably easily hit 14,000 to 20,000 views within about 2 weeks of this show, because we are broadcasting on 8 different networks to 6 continents. So thank you again, everybody, so much.
Thank you.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everybody. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.